According to legends and fables, the Hong Bang period began in 2879 BC, and during this time, the Vietnamese tribes controlled a large territory, stretching from the south of the Yangtze River in China to the present-day Thanh Hoa region. This territory was believed to have originated from the country of Si Quy, founded by Lac Long Quan, who is commonly known as the ancestor of the northern Vietnamese tribes. However, in reality, the Bac Viet tribes did not share a common homeland, and there were significant differences between them in terms of settlement, culture, and language. The first recognized state in Vietnam's history is Vân Lang, a tribe of the Lac Viet people, formed around the 7th century BC, which corresponds to the period of the Dong Son culture and was ruled by the Hung kings. Archaeological evidence, such as the Dong Son culture relics found in northern and central Vietnam, supports the historical timeline of this period. The territory of Vân Lang included the Hung River Basin and the Ma River Basin. The territory of ancient Vietnam during this period is considered to include the northern region of present-day Vietnam, as well as parts of modern-day Guangdong and Guangxi provinces in China. In 257 BC, the king of O Lac, An Dung Vuong, was defeated by the forces of the Buk northern tribes and annexed by their territory. His capital was Phong Khe, located in what is now part of Dong An District, Hanoi. In 217 BC, An Dung Vuong was defeated by Trieu Da, and his territory was incorporated into the southern Vietnamese kingdom of Nam Viet. This marked the beginning of a period of Chinese domination over the region. In 111 BC, the Trieu dynasty lost to the Han dynasty, and Vietnam fell under Chinese control for over 1,000 years. During this time, the Han dynasty often launched expeditions southward to conquer regions like Champa, annexing lands such as the area from Ngang Pass to Hai Van Pass. However, this Chinese control did not last forever. In AD 40, two Trung sisters, Trung Trak and Trung Nhi, led a rebellion against the Eastern Han dynasty. The two sisters successfully seized 65 cities in the southern provinces, but their rule was short-lived as they were defeated by the Han forces in AD 43. In 544, Li Bi expelled the Leung army and declared the establishment of the independent state of Van Xuan, with its capital at Long Bien, modern Hanoi. The territory of Van Xuan included the northern and central regions of Vietnam, and even extended into parts of southern China, such as Guangdong and Guangxi. In 602, Li Thaito's dynasty was defeated by the Nguyen dynasty, which briefly brought Vietnam under the rule of the Nguyen family. In 939, the independence of Vietnam was secured by Ngo Quyen after his victory over the Chinese invaders at the Battle of Bac Dung River. Ngo Quyen ascended to the throne, becoming Ngo Vuong and establishing the first truly independent Vietnamese state. This period marked the start of a new era in the nation's territorial expansion. By the time of the Li dynasty, the Vietnamese state had grown and consolidated its power. In 1014, General Dai Li of the Li dynasty led successful campaigns to annex new territories, such as Cho Vi Long and Cho Do Kim, now part of Tuan Quang province. King Li Thai To, who expanded the nation's borders, took control of Ha Giang and annexed it into the Vietnamese domain. In 1054, King Li Thang Tong changed the country's name to Dai Viet, further establishing the national identity. In 1069, King Li Thang Tong, after defeating Champa forces, captured the Cham King and expanded Dai Viet's territories into the southern regions of the present-day Quang Binh and Quang Tri provinces. In 1159, during the reign of Li An Tung, the Vietnamese forces expanded further into the lands of the Thai people in the north, including modern-day Lao Cai. By 1225, the Trun dynasty replaced the Li family, and in 1306, King Che Mun of Champa ceded parts of the Cham territory to the Trun dynasty in the context of his marriage to Princess Huyen Trun. This land now lies in the southern part of Quang Tri and Hue provinces, marking the southernmost boundaries of Vietnam at the time, which were protected by the Hai Van Pass. In 1400, Ho Quy Ly took power, establishing the Ho dynasty and changing the nation's name to Dai Ngu, with the capital in Thanh Hoa. In 1402, General Na Ho brought troops to fight against Champa, annexing its land into Dai Ngu. However, in 1406, the Ming dynasty of China took advantage of internal strife and invaded Dai Ngu, leading to its collapse in 1407. Vietnam was subsequently occupied by China for nearly 500 years. This period of harsh Chinese rule provoked deep resentment among the Vietnamese people. In 1418, the Lê family, led by Lê Lợi, launched a successful resistance movement from Lam Son, Thanh Hoa. The victory of Lam Son led to the reunification of Vietnam, and in 1428, Lê Lợi ascended the throne as King Lê Thai To, establishing the Lê dynasty. In 1448, King Lê Nhuyen Tung, supported by the Lê family, established the Lam Chau Quan Hat system to administer the territories. In 1470, King Lê Thanh Tông led a campaign against Champa, conquering the land of Hoa Châu, which now includes the modern provinces of Quang Nam, Quang Ngai, and Binh Dinh. By the early 16th century, the Lê dynasty began to weaken, and the Nguyen family, led by Nguyen Kim, emerged as a powerful force. In 1527, The Mac family seized control of the capital, but Nguyen Kim's forces fought back and reclaimed the territories of Thanh Hoa and Nghệ An. The Mac family controlled the northern regions of Vietnam, while the Le family retained control over the south. In 1545, Nguyen Kim was poisoned to death, and his son-in-law, Trinh Kim, was appointed to take over the leadership of the Nguyen clan. However, Trinh Kim feared Nguyen Uong, Nguyen Kim's son, and had him killed. In 1554, Trinh Kim led his army to conquer Thanh Hoa and Quang Nam. The Vietnamese territory was officially divided into two halves, with the Trinh family controlling the north and the Nguyen family controlling the south. In 1558, Nguyen Kim's son, Nguyen Hoang, was sent by the Nguyen clan to conquer the land of Thuận Hoa, present-day Hay. Nguyen Hoang, with his influence growing, eventually became the governor of Thuận Hoa. In 1569, Nguyen Hoang suggested to King Lê Anh Tông that they deploy forces to assist in defeating the Mac dynasty, which was still holding parts of the north. Nguyen Hoang received the title of Governor-General of Quang Nam for his contributions. By 1611, Nguyen Hoang had expanded his influence by occupying Phu Yin and establishing the capital at Ai Luc. Meanwhile, in the north, the Trinh family, under Trinh Tung, had captured Thăng Long, Hanoi, and pushed the Mac dynasty to the northeast. By 1625, the Mac dynasty was reduced to only a small area in Cao Bang. From 1627 to 672, the two sides engaged in multiple military conflicts, without a clear victory, and eventually, they agreed to establish the river as the boundary between their territories. As both sides refrained from further war, they focused on suppressing the remnants of the Mac dynasty. The Trinh and Nguyen families continued to expand and solidify their control. In 1679, some officials who refused to submit to the Qing dynasty gathered 3,000 troops and 50 ships, fleeing south to Vietnam. By 1693, King Nguyen Phuc Chu and General Nguyen Hu Cain advanced southward, annexing the remaining parts of the kingdom of Chen Lap, Cambodia, including Binh Thuận and Ninh Thuận, bringing them under Vietnamese control. Although the ruling elites in this region still retained some autonomy, the area was gradually integrated into the Nguyen realm. In 1708, the Chinese merchant Mark Ku excavated the land of Ha Tien, in present-day Kiên Giang, and sought permission from King Nguyen Phuc Chu to incorporate it into Vietnamese territory. From the early 17th century onward, the Nguyen court expanded its influence on the islands and archipelagos in the East Sea, South China Sea, including the Hong Sa, Paracel Islands, and Trung Sa, Spratly Islands. In 1771, the Tay Son brothers, Nguyen Nhac, Nguyen Lu, and Nguyen Huệ, began a rebellion against the Nguyen family in Dang Trong. By 1774, Nguyen Phuc Thuan, Nguyen Phuc Anh, was unable to resist the Tay Son forces, and their power quickly weakened. Nguyen Phuc Anh, after a series of defeats, fled south to Gia Dinh. In 1777, under the command of Nguyen Huệ, the Tay Son army decisively defeated the Nguyen forces. Nguyen Phuc Dung and Nguyen Phuc Thuan were captured and executed, effectively ending the Nguyen family's rule. Nguyen Phuc Anh escaped to Tho Chu Island. Tay Son had control over nearly the entire territory of Vietnam. However, between 1787 and 1789, internal strife weakened the Tay Son. Nguyen Phuc Anh, with growing support in the south, gradually regained control of the southern regions. In 1792, King Quang Trung Nguyen Huệ passed away, and the Tay Son dynasty weakened. Finally, in 1802, Nguyen Phuc Anh defeated the Tay Son forces and ascended the throne as Emperor Gia Long, founding the Nguyen dynasty and unifying Vietnam after nearly 300 years of internal conflict. In 1830, Emperor Gia Long annexed the Western territories, further expanding Vietnam's borders. In 1835, the territory of Cambodia was formally annexed, and the western frontier of Vietnam reached its greatest extent, covering most of the East Sea. However, in the mid-19th century, the situation in Vietnam began to change. In 1841, after the death of Emperor Thu Tri, the power struggles between factions and ongoing regional instability weakened the central authority. In 1859, the French colonists began their invasion of Vietnam, and by 1862, they forced the Nguyen dynasty to sign the Treaty of Saigon, ceding all of southern Vietnam to French control. From 1870 to 1873, France took control of additional territories such as Ha Tây, Ninh Thuận, and Châu Đốc, while other areas were annexed to Cambodia. In 1884, the Treaty of Tiên Sinh was signed, officially making Vietnam a French protectorate. In 1887, the French created the Indo-Chinese Union, which included Vietnam as part of French colonial rule. In 1893, France established the Indo-Chinese Federation, consolidating French control over the region, with various territories including northern Vietnam and parts of Laos and Cambodia. In 1904 and 1905, additional territories were incorporated into the French colonial system. By the time the French established their dominion, large portions of Vietnamese territory were divided, particularly in the northwest and northern regions. In 1945, following the end of World War II, the Republic of Vietnam was established on September 2, 1945. under President Ho Chi Minh, with Hanoi as its capital. After the Geneva Accords in 1954, Vietnam was divided into two regions: the north, led by the communist government of Ho Chi Minh, and the south, which was backed by the United States. On April 30, 1975, the Vietnam War ended, and the country was reunified under the Socialist Republic of Vietnam. Since 1976, Vietnam has operated as a socialist republic, and the territory has continued to grow in terms of national development and influence. Throughout its history, from the time of the Hung Bang dynasty, the territory of Vietnam expanded from the north to the south. The country overcame periods of foreign invasion and internal strife, and its territory now stretches from the northern regions to the southern tip of the Mekong Delta, with approximately 4,000 islands in the East Sea, asserting control over key maritime areas and islands.